Welcome back, everyone. We have an update from ZYUS Life Science Corporation. Trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol ZLSCF and on the TSXV under the symbol ZYUS. It's a Canadian-based life sciences company focused on the global development and commercialization of cannabinoid-based pharmaceutical drug product candidates and innovative exempt market therapeutics. Please welcome CEO Brent Zettl. Nice to see you again, Brent.
Good to see you too, Anna. Thank you for the time. So our update to the trial. Last time I was on the program, I introduced the audience to what we're talking in cannabinoid formulations, where we've discovered a unique cannabinoid that works on pain. It's a non-psychoactive cannabinoid called cannabichromine, and it's part and parcel of a three-part formulation that we use called trichomolan is the name of the drug, and it's a combination of THC, CBD, and CBC. The difference is we are using the FDA regulatory authority as a way of approving our drugs. We just completed a phase 1 clinical proper, and now moving into a phase 2 clinical trial in Canada. The update is that the phase 2 clinical trial is effectively begun. We've hired Kalian as our CRO. We're looking at cancer patients. We're looking at 126 patients. Half will be placebo and half will have the trichomolan gel caps. And the primary endpoints will be pain, chronic pain, will be dosing, and we're looking at dose escalation and, of course, safety. And we're doing that at 6 centers across Canada. And so our first patients will be sometime later in the summer, and then looking at preliminary data coming out in December, and then follow on with a final report sometime second half of 2025. Our goal with this particular drug is to make sure that we have something used as an opiate-sparing tool. We're looking at this as a drug that can be used in concert with the opiates, that might be able to use less of them during the treatment. And of course, in cancer pain, we're looking at stage 4 cancer pain that we're using with people who are in stage 4 cancer, who have a scale of between 6 and 9. And looking to see if we can't use it as a potential tool to help offset some of the usage of some of the opiates in their pain, in managing their pain scores. So that program has begun. The other aspect of this is that, which is unusual as a company, we are looking at, we manufacture our own drugs that we use for this purpose. And to that effect, we validated the method for purification of our cannabinoids that we have that goes into this, which meet what's called an ICH guideline or amount, which is 99.6% pure for each cannabinoid. And then we put them into a capsule at 5 milligrams each cannabinoid for a total of 50 milligrams of total cannabinoids in a capsule. So that manufacturing, the validation is done. We're north of 500 points of quality control in the manufacturing process. And that we'll be producing our products that are going to go into the phase 2 clinical trial. That also sets the stage for what we're looking at using these same products in the same system for the phase 3 trial. Again, for us and our look at see what we can do, our modes of action that we've had, and we mentioned in the past, there's 3 areas that we're looking at. Of course, the endocannabinoid system that some folks are familiar with, the CB1 and CB2 receptors, we believe that our 3-part API addresses as an agonist to both the CB1 and CB2 receptor. It also involved in the sensory channels, TRP channels. It works in the sensory channels. We have one aspect of it we believe is anti-inflammatory, because it works on the pro-inflammatory cytokines by reducing them, thereby reducing inflammation. And lastly, we found strong evidence that suggests that our products work in the sodium ion channels, and it actually working in that concert with that. So those are our 4 modes of action that the collective of the 3-part API works, the cannabinoids. And we're really looking at trying to get an evidence of what this looks like from a pain management score and what we can do to reduce the pain that's going into cancer patients. So that really is the update from a clinical development perspective and the manufacturing. We did hire a couple of new hires that maybe were mentioned that haven't been. We've hired a new VP of research, Scott Livingstone. He was a former cancer agency president and also the president of what's called the Saskatchewan Health Authority. He had 42,000 people reporting to him, and now he is our VP of clinical research that we have here. And then we'll also add to our clinical advisory committee is Dr. Hans Clark. He's based out of Toronto. He's at the Toronto General. He's a pain specialist there, and well-renowned in his work. And he is also quite familiar with cannabinoids and what the potential could be with their use. So we've added him to the clinical advisory committee. So this is we've been fortifying the team, and we've been moving along at a breaking pace in order to get this done. We're also now begun planning for our phase 1B for our second drug, a research drug that is a non-psychoactive therapy for looking at neuropathic pain. So that's really is a quick and dirty update for what we have going on with ZYUS Life Sciences. Anna, is there any questions?
We do. We have a few questions. Daryl Hernandez asks, how easily can this cannabinoid be reproduced? Is it patentable?
Well, we've patented it. It can be reproduced, but we've patented the formulation or the manner of use. So we're patenting not the actual construction of the chemistry itself. We've patented its use after the fact, what it can be used for. And so we've filed 14 patents. We have the first patent that's been granted in 9 countries already, including Canada, and we're in the national phase entry in both the United States and Europe for its matter of use in pain management. Now, interestingly enough, we were put on what's called the superhighway for patent approval in our first patent, primarily because there was no prior art where CBC was identified to be used for pain at all. And so now with all that, we've got that prior art has allowed us, all of our claims we have on our patent have been accepted because they didn't find any prior art.
A few people want you to talk about the timeline on phase 2 and what do you expect after it?
So phase 2, we look for a preliminary data toward the end of this year in December for some preliminary data. And we're looking for a completion of that by, like I said, the second half, probably the second half of 2025, probably in the fourth quarter, early part of the fourth quarter for a final report. Though, in the same time, we are going to be speaking with the health authorities, and we're looking at launching a phase 3 that we're right on the heels of that on the product that we have with trichomelin. Also within that, we also have the 1B for the second drug product candidate, so we'll be advancing that as well. Once we have we haven't had identified the clinic sites and the research area for the 1B yet, but we've just begun the planning process for that.
And talk just a little bit more about that, Justin Haywood. Any preclinical or animal data that highlights the potential efficacy profile that you're seeking in that phase 2 trial?
Yeah, we've completed 64 preclinical trials on the animal data. We generated 6,700 pages of data that points to this in the right direction. This does work on pain in both the rat and the dog models. We're seeing that it works very effective on neuropathic pain in the animal models that we've seen. The second part is that it's been well tolerated by the animals themselves in terms of milligrams per kilogram use from a safety perspective. We're well north of, like most people know, THC, you tap out at about 5 milligrams, between 5 and 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. That's the measurement. But we now with our CBC, I actually had to authorize them to exceed 500 milligrams per kilogram in both the rat and dog models. So in other words, it's relatively benign in terms of its safety profile. So we had to stop beyond that for other, as we found what the limits were, but at the same time, we're finding that it's relatively benign and still it appears in those animal models to work on neuropathic pain.
Fascinating stuff. Brent, do you have any closing remarks for our viewers today?
We're pretty excited about the future. Again, the patent process, we actually did file 2 new patents last week. We're still making discoveries as we go through this process. There seems to be a lot more information. And of course, we're gaining a significant amount of momentum.
Wonderful. Well, great momentum, great update. Thank you so much. Join us again in the future with some more, okay?
My pleasure. Good to be with you.
All right, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with Carbon Revolution.